TacPs were so quiet that we had senior leaders in our own service that weren't totally clear on what we do. And to the point that we were in a meeting, and it was one of the POs that were like, man, if we'd have known all this stuff, like, I don't know if you guys would have got cut.
One's ready. One's ready. Go!
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the One's Ready podcast. You're in the team room. Before we hop into this next episode with Jared Taylor from Black Rifle Coffee and Time for Pie and the TacP Career Field Functional Manager, Chief Jimbo Spreeder, love for you guys to head over to tastygains.com. Check out some of these creatine gummies. Well, they've got other gummies as well, pre-workout. They've got some nootropic capsules as well, which I have here. So the nootropic capsules, fan-freaking-tastic. So are the creatine gummies as well. They are third-party tested twice over, and both times they came back with more creatine in the gummies than they actually advertised. So we don't have to worry about the scam that was going around, at least not with Tasty Gains. They are not associated with that in any way possible or any way going forward. Anyway, not going forward, but anyway, they were never associated with it. What the hell? So, dudes, check it out. There's no promo code or anything like that. Tastygains.com. Let me tell you how cool these dudes are, though. We are holding our operator training summit in Nashville, and not only are they sponsors on our shirts, but at the same time, they said, hey, you know what? We want to give back to the candidates that are doing the operator training summit. We want to send them 2 free bags. So they sent everybody that was interested, they sent them 2 free bags of creatine gummies just to say thank you for doing what they're doing. So pretty cool company, pretty cool dudes, and we're happy to have them on board. Now, this episode kind of is a lot focused on TacP, and then kind of the Air Force Special Warfare. I don't want to say we're all over the place because we're not all over the place, but we're going to talk about Jared and Jimbo's TacP trailer or TacP movie documentary called Controlled, which is free on YouTube for anybody to go watch. I highly recommend it because it was actually 2 hours of knowledgeable and really good stories and really good historical information. So I really enjoyed it. And then we started talking about the current state of the TacP career field and kind of the future state of the TacP career field and where it's going, because out of everybody within the TacP community, the CFM or the career field functional manager is the person that helps guide that and helps take that in a certain direction. So enjoy the episode and just appreciate you guys being here. See you. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the One's Ready podcast. You're in the team room, and we have JT from Black Rifle Coffee, Time for Pie. What else? Drinking Bros, all kinds of stuff, right? And then we've got Chief Master Sergeant, Career Field Functional Manager, Jimbo Spreeder. Appreciate you joining us.
Awesome. Thanks to be here, man.
Yeah. Get him a little more in frame. There we go.
Yeah.
As you hold up a Starbucks mug, you then.
Why do you think dude, I shot you a text and said, hey, I'll be up there in a minute. I'm finishing a coffee. And I just wanted to just so you know.
Just twist the knife. It's okay.
That's right.
We're bringing it back to the early 2000 rivalry of the 1 Charlie 2, 1 Charlie 4 career.
That's right. Well, to be fair, what's in it right now is actually a TAC coffee, the 2 hog drivers that are in Missouri. So those guys are awesome. So that's who I'm drinking right now. But so let's talk about first. I want to hit the documentary that you guys did, because both of you guys, I think, were executive producers on it, if I remember right.
Yes.
And I got to say, it was an awesome work on that. You guys crushed it. It was a great job. I watched it over like 2 days just because I was watching it while I was at work and then finished it up at home. The way you were able to go so far back into the history of TacP and the origin, and then find the footage and find some of those documents. I mean, where the hell do you get that stuff from? Like the Air Force Heritage Museum or something?
It's digging. I mean, luckily the internet, is the internet now, and you're not using those old, microfilms in a library to sort through. So, I mean, that definitely plays a vital role. Our editor, Jackie, it's like her natural talent is combing military archives. Like that's a superpower of hers, because she's been doing this for us for well over 5 years now. You know, a lot of all the serious pieces that you see done, to include war pigs, that Jack that's what led to this project. You know, Jack finished war pigs as an ode to his unit that was in Fallujah in 2004 and again in 2006, and he wanted to capture that for his guys, like that all served in that. You know, they did a big screening out there with the current unit of the war pigs, and like the commanders and the sergeant majors were just like floored. Like, this is so cool that we have this now. And once it was done, I looked at Jack and said, okay, I need you to do that for us.
Yeah. Well, he's good. And Jack's good at it. That's the thing, is as hilarious as he is, right? And some of the characters that he plays is pretty out there. You know what I mean? He's got just like you were talking about Jackie, she's got a talent for it. He's got a talent for these kind of documentaries, of really highlighting, and not just highlighting certain communities and that kind of stuff, but also making it interesting to where it's not this kind of like, it's a lecture series or anything like that.
Well, and we were lucky too. Like, we have to give it credit to our 2 PhDs. Like, these guys did their doctorate on the history of TacP. So we were able to pull in 2 studying subject matter experts that spent years of their lives like finding all of this stuff. And then also for you know, my network and time in the TacP career field, when I was part of the association, I made friends with a lot of our old heads. So I knew who to call. You know, the guy that designed and created our flash and crest, he brought the original piece of paper that he hand drew this thing out on. Like,
we had Scotty, who came out, he was 80 years old, Robert Scott, who was like the first TacP ever to get to drop a bomb in combat. And like, he had some of the original stuff, like just stacks of original documents.
They brought Jody's a book of Jody's that were all about making fun of officers and stuff like that. Like,
there was stuff I wish we could have shown, but like some of the old heritage things that dudes kept around, like you can't really put on the internet.
Well, yeah, you're protecting them, but at the same time, you know, you guys probably could have made that documentary 5 hours.
Yeah.
And you know, it was great to see guys like Kenny Lindsay and Marty Klukas on there that are TacP legends, and there were other guys on there too. I just can't think of their names right off the top of my head, but like, you probably had a list of 40 people that you wanted to get on there, if not more.
The most difficult things that we encountered as we were filming and we were capturing the story is that for every like one vignette and story we got, we found 10 and that we couldn't get to, or that we just didn't have enough room for, that were equally as awesome and equally as compelling. But we just, like, literally everybody we'd bring out would go, "Hey man, did you guys talk to this guy?" And we're already at the point where like, there's no room. It's already a 2-hour feature. And it was hard to go, man, we can't capture anymore, even though these are all amazing, but it's the story is as good as we're going to get. It was probably the most difficult piece of the whole thing.
Well, yeah, it was also nerve-wracking because we knew we couldn't fuck this up. Everybody, every single one of our friends is looking at us. It's like, God, we got to do this right. And, you know, Jack shaped the story perfectly. Like I'm very happy with how this thing flows, because it not only gives you the historical aspect of where we came from and how this whole thing came about, but it gave you a taste and a flavor from every part of the GWAP.
Yeah. Yep. And I mean, the one criticism I have is, you know, where you did mess it up is that you did have a controller in several of your pictures in there. No, I mean, you know, just throwing it out there that, yeah, I did see myself in a couple of those pictures, which was pretty funny.
Because you're handsome and we love you.
Well,
yeah, right.
I did that on purpose too, you know, because I needed to give you guys some reason to bitch.
well, that's kind of why I reached out to you, because I know how our communities can be. And that's why I shot you a message going, "Hey, has anybody given you any crap about this in terms of, oh, well, you should have done it this way, or how come you didn't get this person on, or why'd you say it like that?"
So we had really all we got was just a couple questions of like, hey, did you think, or did you guys talk to this guy or this other person, or this is a really good story? And most of them we fully acknowledged, like, yes, that would have been amazing, but like within
They weren't
time,
unavailable. Like, also too, there are some people like, why didn't she reach out to this guy? We did.
yeah,
Like, it's just
Didn't hear anything back kind
yeah,
of thing, right?
no, or they didn't want to do it, or they or schedule just didn't permit. But also too, I think there is a level of, I don't think people knew that this was a real movie until it came out. So there was a few that were like, man, I wish I would have stopped
yeah.
everything and gone out there when you asked me. But I didn't really think about it, all the way through. You just like, oh, we're gonna make a TacP movie. Like
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know if it's too early, so just ignore me if it is, but I think you guys are planning to do a little something about the A-10 as well, right?
yes, that's what's next. We've been talking to the A-10 community's leadership, and they have given us the green light to move forward on that this December. So Jack and I will be in Vegas for Patch Week. That's where we're going to get the lay of the land of everybody and kind of build our, because this is going to be a tad more difficult, because it's not like with TacP. I had everybody in my phone. I knew
Yeah.
exactly who to pinpoint, when we sat down the first time and built a roadmap of our history. Like, that's what we were doing. Okay, Marty Klukas covers Panama, the Panama jump. Scott gets us Grenada. We need someone from Desert Storm. We need someone from the invasion of Anaconda that tells an. So we were building this architecture through the names of people that we were interviewing and picking to interview. With the A-10, though, I don't know who these people are,
Yeah.
so I'm going to need guides and help from them. But we have a really good idea of, we want to start with the test of this airframe when it was just before it got awarded its contract, and go all the way to December 31st of 2025 when the A-10 is retired. So
Yeah.
it's the lifespan of this aircraft.
Right, and that's actually the one thing, and Jimbo's probably tracking this, or maybe you're not, but, in the recent NDAA appropriations, it is supposed to get funded all the way through FY 26 now, the A-10. So
Yeah.
it has gotten extended a bit. But the problem with that is it is a death by 1,000 cuts, because they're not
Yeah.
really making parts for it anymore.
Yeah,
And the Air
the mills
Force,
are gone. In the end, there's a life cycle to where it costs more if they were going to try to expedite. So it makes sense to kind of let it ride out into the sunset. But the places that make the parts to replenish the A-10 are gone.
yeah,
The dies are gone, and so that fantastic, beautiful airplane is going away. But it's got a little bit of time, and it's still, the hard part is like every time something pops up that's not World War III, which is everything else,
yep,
it turns out to end up being incredibly valuable. Like all these like lower end insurgency type of things. The A-10 is fantastic, and
yeah,
it keeps popping back up. And then like some of the people that want to get rid of it get pissed because it's, hey man, like this thing won't go away.
yeah. Oh, combatant commands are still asking for this thing, and it's still proven very worthwhile. And
I mean,
with the
Jimbo and I actually had a proposal that we wanted to get in front of, the Secretary of War, that was, why don't we paint them all black and give them to Task Force 160th?
yeah, yeah, that was a discussion, I think 12 years ago or so, where it was like, hey, maybe a certain, joint operations unit should own these kind of
I
thing.
mean, how
But
scary would that be of our enemies to see a black warthog with teeth and blood all over the bottom of it painted into the paint?
it'd be
Like,
amazing. Yeah.
I mean, let's get back to some psychological warfare. Like, let's make them scared.
We could make a whole other round of awesome mixtape videos with drowning pools in the background.
Yeah, it's gonna be sad when that bird's finally gone. And I do like that it got extended. Problem is that unless you extend it by, 5 years kind of thing, it's, to reopen those manufacturing parts and stuff like that. And I tell you what, the fabrications airmen that are on Nellis and Davis Monthan and all the and Moody and stuff like that, they're incredible with what they're able to fabricate. Parts wise, they've gotten so good at it, and so kudos to them.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So good. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you guys out in Vegas. Jimbo, you going to come out too?
I'm not sure. I got my schedule's kind of wonky lately. So with trying to run a career field, helping Jared make movies, not getting in trouble.
And then also, like we're the projects that we've been on this year alone is for everyone in AFSW. So we just finished with the badge redesign. You saw that.
Yep. Yeah, I've actually, without your permission, I stole that and put that on kind of a couple of our thumbnails just to kind of get it out there.
I'll tell you, it's out for cord right now. And the first rendering and the first round of the badge, we got shot in the face a lot. But as far as this one, I have seen significantly less rage.
Well, you're always going to catch spears for sure.
Yeah, there's always going to be spears, but this one overall, like specifically, like on the comments, we would see very specific people really piping up, and like those people have been like, "Yes, I like this a lot better. This actually looks like a badge. This actually kind of makes sense." And then the inclusion of like a combat identifier. A lot of guys have taken that kind of warmly as a good idea. It's like, hey man, like if you've done your special warfare trade in a real combat scenario, we think that should be something indicated that you wear.
Well, and you know that becomes currency in front of our joint force.
Oh
the Army will learn to respect a gold badge because they know that you've done this for real. Like, and you know that works for the Army. So why don't we placate to them?
So this is the gold one that has and the gold is to signify
if you have an Air Force Combat Action Medal.
Okay. And then let me bring up the other one here real quick.
Looks really cool.
Yeah, it looks good. I like the kind of how you're able to kind of throw the pewter on here as well.
Well, and so to talk you through this, Peaches, we really cleaned this thing up, like from an art perspective. Jimbo sat behind me as I like dissected this thing piece by piece in Adobe Illustrator and rebuilt each piece of it to be symmetrical. And then there were some things that just didn't make sense. Like in the original, the sword faced upwards and nobody had a reason why. And if you go and look at the heraldry within the British SAS and the Kiwi SAS and Australian SAS, it's all the sword facing down means worldwide strike deployable at any moment. That's a symbol for us.
The core of our DNA across aspect war is air to ground. And so in the end, it's bringing effects from air into the earth. And it just made a lot more sense to have something kind of going down and in, and it cleaned it up. Now, disclaimer, it's out for cord, so it is entirely possible that something could come up and somebody has beef and we have to make some adjustments in coordination, but this is the draft that's out for staff right now.
They better show their work. Like, if you got beef with it, you need to adjust why. Like because the one thing that
well, I don't like it.
Yeah. Why,
dude? I had the last one came out. Like I had an hour and a half phone call with an unnamed dude at Hurlburt that he had about an hour and a half of issues and basically explained to me why he didn't understand what a functional badge was. like they're like, man, I don't know if the controllers and the TacPs, it makes sense for us to have the same badge. And I was like, we've had the same
function badge
for like 3 years. It's operation. And it was like, no. And I was like, no, like we've had
for real
like this whole time. And this dude had no clue. So some of it just comes out of like change, right? The reality is anytime something is different than what currently exists, there are people that feel uncomfortable. Sometimes they can't even articulate it. They're just like, I don't like that this is different than the way things are.
Why do we have to change?
Yeah.
So you said that this is out for coordination. Is this part of the pad?
No, this
Okay.
is something that's been happening since I was working in the Pentagon the first time in like 2019. Because when we got reclassified as one Zulus under the Special Warfare Functional Area, all of us were no longer eligible for our previous functional badge. We're supposed to have a functional badge. So like as an AFSC in the United States Air Force, you're supposed to have that. And we did not. So we pushed it out with the old design, like the original like aspect war wings. We got some feedback. There were some non-concurs and some people didn't like it because it was like too cluttered. And there were a couple other issues with it. It got all the way up to uh like kind of final checks before it gets signed off. And then um basically kind of the chief of staff's office said, "Hey, we want you guys to go back to the drawing board and get everyone to concur with this." Which I don't know if you like in staffing language, that means, "Hey, I want this to take a lot longer."
Yeah.
And our director at the time, Colonel Hughes, was like, "Dude, this is burning a lot of general staff calories, and we have a lot of really important things that we're working on." So we let the badge kind of sit for a little bit while we worked out some other stuff in aspect war, getting up to the point. But then as we invigorated, started looking at the pad, started looking at other stuff that has nothing to do with kind of that document, but like the teaming and the other places where there's a lot more coexistence and collaboration, the badge started to make a lot more sense. And so it finally kind of became one of those things where organically it started to be a lot more logical, and we saw lot less resistance to the idea of, hey, we should have the same badge that we're supposed to have because we're in the same functional area.
Well, let's talk about then. So what are some of the changes that are coming down? Because you as a career field functional manager have, I don't want to say you have say, right? Because there's a lot of staffing from the Air Force Special Warfare community. I think it's A3S, right?
Yeah.
Where all that is coming from. And there's a lot of changes coming. And I had mentioned the pad, but we don't have to go into specifics of that because it's still waiting on a signature,
Yeah.
one or two signatures. But what are some of those changes that we can kind of expect?
So I'll speak first kind of on the TacP side specifically, because I can that one I have the most influence on. So within the
Sure.
TacP world, we're looking to kind of refocus and refine. We've throughout GWAT and through a lot of the other conflicts, we kind of diverged a lot and took on a lot of peripheral things that sort of diluted from our focus. And so as we look at kind of rebuilding what our training focus is and what our primary skill set focus is, we're digging into kind of off of the Air Force policy directive 1035 definition of precision strike. And so as we look at what does the Air Force determine is the guy that goes out and presents effects and does strike stuff, and how do we be the best version of that guy that the Air Force can provide? And so we're looking at that as a focus area and going, hey, our core competency is that we go into forward odds and ends contested spaces and we present and fuse effects together. And then after that, we go, okay, what things do we have that we're currently obligated to that don't contribute to making us better in those kind of contested spaces? And so that's a big thing that we're looking at. We're diving in across the board. TacPs are now plugged in with pararescue. And so we've got dudes pretty well spread out through the rescue squadrons. It started, I think you were still in weapons school back when they did, like Souter did the original paper where they did
Yeah.
tests on it. And they were like, hey, we need this. And what they found was initially the requirement was for a JTAC. Like the rescue squadron is like, hey, we need an organic capability to do fires and do strike and stuff. And that was totally valid. Like they wanted to do it. They looked at building JTACs internally to rescue, but the demand signal and their overall requirements to sustain that, it's a lot.
Yeah.
And so when you add that to the list of qualifications that a pararescueman or a crow has to have, they're like, man, that's a pretty big bill. And if you have one thing mess up your calendar, like you're probably going to lose some stuff. And so they started bringing our guys in, and then we had like in Africa where they came back and it wasn't just JTAC anymore. The crows and the guys on the ground saw, hey man, this guy's good at JTAC and JTAC's really neat, but the other 98% of the time where somebody's not reading a 9-line to an aircraft, they're a really good integrator. They understand the 4 dimensions of a battle space and how to kind of turn that into something really useful. And so that crow that's, operating as a ground commander has the ability to be a lot more effective because they've got somebody with them that can bring assets in, out, understand all the dimensions of everything that's happening. And so we're doing that. AFSOC's kind of the same business. And so we've got guys, we got dudes working in the STSs. We got guys outside of the STSs. As far as overall stuff with the pad, like, again, it's kind of short final. It's in staffing I don't know. So
Yeah, we'll definitely cover the pad, whether we end up having you back on or we have Jeff,
yeah,
on.
I think you should have us both on.
Oh my God, I can't imagine that.
We could be good cop, bad cop.
Yeah, that's right. Just chucking spears at each other. Well, so in terms of what the future, whether how it relates to the pad or not, what is the future for the TacP hopefuls that are coming in for the pipeline? Like, because what can they expect?
So overall, like right now, like they're diving in. The training wing is, I think, doing a good job with a lot of the stuff they're doing with looking at ways to find efficiencies with common skills. So again, it's change, and so there's places where change draws friction, but overall going, hey, we all train the same thing to the same skill level. Let's try to do those things. All TacPs that come through are now assessed and selected alongside their pararescue, combat control, and special reconnaissance brethren, which brings a higher level baseline that we'd previously had. So TacPs are now, as I look at it, we're focusing more again on the precision strike. We're focusing more on going back to having people be lethal in a battle space, having the ability to shoot, move, and communicate very effectively. And some of it, I would say, like the drift. I don't know if you guys in controllers had it too, but the demand signal and the tempo was so high through GWAT that guys ended up being very, very fixated on JTAC.
Mhm.
Guys ended up being so drawn into JTAC that when you pulled them out, there were other things that, man, like the reality was the only thing you needed was JTAC for a long time. And so guys just got in this rhythm of controlling airplanes, and that was it.
Yep.
And so now when we take a step back and look at, hey, if we're not just fighting like homeless dudes in the desert in Afghanistan and
no windows.
Yeah.
Man, just wearing man jammies.
Yeah. Like, you got to be a lot better at a lot of other stuff. You got to be all the way combat effective and not just a JTAC that's pretty good at other stuff. And so we're really investing in making these people into overall well-rounded, combat hardened people.
Yeah.
We're looking at shooting. We're looking at how they come out of the pipeline with a lot higher level baseline shooting. We're looking at how they infill exfil. There's stuff that TacP does that isn't necessarily only married to the Army. We're always going to work with the Army. We're always going to integrate because just like everybody else, the reality is integration is one of our biggest strengths. But there's times where we have to be able to do things potentially not just coupled and not just in service to another service.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, you got to have a little bit better ways to get there, and you got to be able to perform a little bit better when you are there because they're not going to do it for you any longer.
For sure. And taking a small step back here, there's actually a recruit that we had on, and we're following him through the pipeline just to see. I mean, he is extremely confident. He's already shipped off the basic. We hit his face.
Yeah, and these people keep tagging me in that shit.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why you
I think
keep
he's going
getting
to do
burned in
great. He's got
Yeah,
the
he's gonna be
attitude
great.
for it, though. It's a two-way street.
Yeah. Just tag him back.
We can't wait.
Yeah. Can't wait to
Get a letter
to see how he does.
Selection is.
He'll be in the November selection, the November SWAS. That's when
Yeah.
we can expect to see him.
Okay, I'm actually out here I was observing a SWAS and the government shut down, so I got kind of stuck in Texas. So
Did you really?
yeah, like because I took leave en route, and then I was supposed to pick up a TDY, and then government shutdown didn't end, so I was like, I'm just gonna go hang out at Jared's house and telework.
So did you see what are some of the things that you witnessed while you were out there? What did you think?
I only got in for the board, and so we just kind of looked through packages and did review off of a roster number. So it wasn't anything huge. I'd been out before, and it was just kind of like what you'd expect and what's already out. Like, man, they're smoking dudes. They're going through, like, I went out for the Murph, and the Mogadishu Mile, like, and they're just watching, grinding. One of the other things I would tell guys is that they're not just looking for PT. Is do some studying. Like, if they want an intelligent operator, they want somebody that can problem solve. They want somebody that's a team player. And so if you find yourself being like I got mine kind of person, and you're looking to come into these pipelines, like, that's going to get weeded out very quickly. The instructors down there can see somebody self-centered no matter how bad they try to hide it, and it's like a sore thumb. So
I mean, every special operations job now has been having the conversations about looking for guys that are just doing this for Instagram. Like, they're well aware now. So everybody's combing social media and looking at, like, do you really want to do this, or are you doing this so you can take pictures and kit and put it on the internet?
Which is amazing, because what a hell of a thing to go through just so you can try and get some clout on the internet. Like, wow.
Yeah, I'll tell you, like, in the build versus buy kind of analogy, the guys that are, just barely making it PT, but are putting out a lot, and they're really good team players. And so the rest of their teammates have, great things to say about, like, how much this person gives and how well they try to take care of the people around them. Those things really matter. And so that's what I would give to kind of the proposed candidates is think about how well you interact with the team around you. And if you're so bare minimum that the only thing you can do is take care of yourself, and you find yourself kind of thinking as a, hey man, I got mine kind of person, like, they can smell it. All of us
Yeah.
can. And it's like, I've been to, like, the TacPs and a couple other different assessment models, and, like, the BFer guy, everybody can sense it, because we all went through that training, and every single one of us has been BF'd by a Blue Falcon. And, like, you can you,
Smells
yeah.
like bitch in here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So go into the changes though. It used to be that, hey, for your folks that maybe weren't necessarily comfortable in the water or didn't know how to swim and stuff like that, they would kind of go the TacP route, but that's no longer the case now, right?
No. And that's kind of a weird subject, because since about 2014, 2015, TacPs have been supposed to be in the water. Like, I had to, like, last time I was at the Pentagon, I had to write a paper about it, because there was a lot of resistance to making us swim on the OFT. And so we pushed it out, and there was a lot, whoa, TacPs don't do water. So I had to go through, like, the Army field manuals and show all the places where every unit we work with has, hey, for these crew of key leaders to do wet gaps, to do waterborne operations, to do helo casting. These are all not soft missions. These are all things that even regular conventional units do frequently. They talked about how to, basics of reconnaissance, how to maneuver teams and do these crossings. And so surface swim has been a requirement for TacP, to the point that in 2015, the Secretary of the Air Force, the Honorable Deborah Wilson, ordered us to start swimming. And it took like 5 years for a TacP to get in the pool. So really, it's just one of those where it's taken some time to catch up. But what we're finding is, I talked to some of the developers and some of the team and the scouts and all the guys we have out there, is that it's yielding a little bit better product, and the guys are taking to it really well. And some of it's because we have developers, and that guys will start out, they can't really swim, and so they'll be doing their 500 in like 20 something minutes because they're hurting. With a little bit of technique, those guys are getting down to that 10-minute mark very quickly. Like, I didn't believe it was that good until I looked at some of the actual data and metrics, that literally teaching somebody how to swim and, a little bit of stroke work, like, they're getting to that pass point very quickly. Like, it's not really too much of an issue. And then their stress tolerance and some of the other things that we look for that kind of lend to a little bit better graduation rate tend to improve by providing them that. And it also, it ties us more effectively to some of the mission sets that we have to look to. So as we get rolled into more and more of the plans and the things that could potentially happen in the Pacific, there's a lot of water there. There's like at least
That's
10,
why it
20
was
gallons.
that's why it was such an emotional event when General Slife and Tony Bauerfein said, "Hey, we're no longer, controllers and SR are no longer doing dive." And everybody's like, "Dude, you've been telling us to focus on the Pacific, and there's so much water over there.
Yeah.
Why would you not? We've been doing stuff in the Middle East and Africa, where there's not much water, and we
And
still
now,
have.
and
And
now
now
we're focused on the
you're rope.
Pacific.
It's like make sense. And they're like, oh well, you'll do it at your unit. It's like, dude, that's not the way that this works, and it's going to cost more money and take more time away. And hopefully that gets reinstated because the way I understand is that that's also up for court right now, and they're just waiting on the final signature. I don't know if you can confirm that or not.
I've seen it bouncing around in staffing, but my just temperature on following the dive stuff has been lukewarm. I've been working on TacPs that don't want to do
Yeah.
surface swim. So, but like,
But to your
as a
point,
whole,
though, it makes bringing the water into the TACP career field makes him an all around better TACP.
yeah,
Especially when you start talking about the stress tolerance, stress inoculation, because you throw water into the mix, whether it's swimming or whether it's any kind of water confidence, like it puts you in a certain fight or flight
yeah.
mentality.
Well, and as we looked at like waterborne operations and working in the surf zone and all those things, like people think there's a huge difference in how difficult, like it's not dive, we're not sending you to dive. The reality is doing anything in a surf zone or underneath rotor wash is way more miserable than diving.
Yeah.
So like when you're diving and you're on oxygen, you can breathe. If you're
I
getting
can just go
scuffed up by
down.
rotors and you get like, it is horrible. And so if you're trying to like get a raft out, unbundle some stuff underneath a rotor, or you're operating in a rough surf zone to get somewhere to do waterborne operations, it's terrible. And so your ability to have, the fundamentals you learn by having to do some buddy breathing and the discipline that you get out of that to chill, um, is absolutely relevant to several of the concepts that we're tied to in the theater that we hope that we never have to go to.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause that's going to be ugly if we end up going over there.
Yeah. But even like when we look at Europe scenarios, like wet gaps and all that stuff are a thing. And we would go through, and when you would look at a traditional unit, they go, hey, this is your torch package, and these are the guys that have to go ad von, and this is who sets up. These are the key leaders and who needs to be with them. Your TACP is always a key leader. And so like the ground commander with his kind of core element of people usually doesn't like to go anywhere without like this person that fuses and synthesizes fires better than anybody else on earth. Like they don't like to move without you. So if they got to swim, you got to swim, dog.
Yep. I hate to tell you. JT, how much involvement as a retired dude or, somebody on, I'll say an outsider, but you're not really an outsider either. Just somebody who's not active duty anymore. Like how much are you tracking all this and providing input?
I mean,
if at all?
we're talking once a day. Like I get phone calls from all the 05s, 06s weekly. Like it was one thing I wanted to actually bring up was, the news is so bad at this because they're just so focused on bashing everybody in the administration. But I have never seen commanders happy like they are right now. The phone calls that I've had in the last 2 weeks because of what the Secretary of War has been putting out policy wise, these guys are back to being like 2003 happy. Like,
Yeah. I can attest to that too. Being in the building on Nellis, talking to people, you see
it's
it.
like we're getting rid of all that horse shit that bogged us down, that was bleeding us dry of being able to do and complete our missions effectively. And it's like just getting the noise away. And it's nice. It's cool. And then, these are now all my friends that have made 05 and 06 and like hearing them stoked on their commands now and their guys. They're saying the guys have never been happier. He's never seen dudes so motivated before to train and keep things up. Like, it's just cool to hear.
Yeah, it's weird because even as a retired dude walking around the halls, I'll say something I definitely couldn't have said a year ago. I would have gotten some serious trouble. And even though I'll say it, I let it slip and I kind of look around going like, God, I hope nobody hope nobody heard that, or I hope nobody's upset about that.
But these guys are always great giving me the creative side of problems to weigh in on. It's like, hey, we have this issue. What do you think?
It's a different perspective, and now that you're pseudo removed from it, you can actually kinda, and you're not in the day-to-day TDY, training, deployment, you can kinda take a step back and go like, "Oh, look at that." And then, Jimbo, with your part, you're talking about staffing and, I've been in that world, right, at SOCOM headquarters and SOCCENT, like staffing and everything's an emergency and,
Well,
like, dude.
it provides, and honestly, like with having some people that are a little bit outside, to bounce ideas off of, like without, of course, I'm not compromising whatever staffing and commander's privy, all that other stuff. But having somebody that's got a little bit different perspective to look at ideas, is incredibly helpful. So having a Jared, having some other dudes that we've got out in different places to take an initiative to and go, hey man, like, what do you think of this? Because I'll tell you right now, like in the current position, you have one group of people that will tell you everything is stupid, and one group of people that will always agree with you. Most of them don't really dig into it or look at it super critically inside. Like I acknowledge how target fixated I get sometimes with stuff, and so having a friend to go, hey dude, what do you think of this idea? And he's got, strategic level experience in a very successful business, and
Mhm.
having him kind of think of what second, third through fifth order effects, an idea may yield is really useful. Cause I mean, again, you've been there on staff, you see something and it looks really good in a Word document. Um,
And then
A
you
bullet
start playing it
background
out
paper.
in the battle drill, and it's like, hold on a sec.
so I,
Yeah.
I talk to the really successful people, then I go talk to like the lowest ranking airmen. Because if you want like some unfettered stuff, you take an idea and you go to the lowest ranking airman, and they're like, yo, that's going to make my life harder. That sucks, bro. I'm going to have to do like twice as many 1800s on Mondays.
Yeah. Oh,
So,
man. Well, with that said, talking about, your lowest enlisted TACP or all the way up to your senior NCOs, what's something that the guys that are actually serving right now, whether it's guard or active duty, what's some updates or what are some things you want them to know, almost as a state of the union kind of thing, the state of TACP?
oof.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good. I would say the biggest thing is our goal is to focus on things that make you more lethal. So if I'm talking to those guys, the things that waste your time, the things that don't make you more lethal and more capable, we're looking at getting those out of your way so that you can focus on training and being prepared to do things, as perfectly as we can possibly do it. We're focusing on trying to get you resourced better than we ever have, and we're focused on really digging to what our mission is to get everything else out of the way, to include dudes that were in the formation that don't belong here. So
Mm,
as you know, like TACP had a force reduction, so we swelled with GWAT. We lost a percentage of our formation. It gives us the ability to, whereas as the standard, evolves, there's some guys that may not meet it in the formation, and they can either step up to the plate and get there, or there's other homes in the Air Force where maybe these guys aren't cut out for the combat environment in the future, and to protect them, we can help them find a better home than in TACP as TACP gets better.
yeah,
But
and I remember talking with, General Kelly, he was the ACC commander before
yep,
General Wheelsbach, when the RIF, the reduction in force, for TACP got announced, and he was kind of fielding questions on it, and it was pretty funny because you could tell he had been around for, 35, 40
yeah,
years. He's like, "Yeah, I think what will happen is, we'll end up doing a RIF, and then there will be this requirement and this need, and then we'll go, hey, who can do this? And then we'll come up with what the requirements are and what they should be. And it'll look a lot like TACP.
that's
And then we'll start all over again and ramping that up."
That's if you pay really close attention to the documentary, that's historically been a thing. And so like controllers have suffered the same deal. A-10s, CAS aircraft has suffered the thing is that it kind of goes away as focus changes and then something pumps back up. The other thing, and part of the reason that we did the film, was the story isn't widely known to the degree that we had senior leaders that, TacPs were so quiet that we had senior leaders in our own service that weren't totally clear on what we do. And to the point that we were in a meeting, and it was there was, GOs that were like, man, if we'd have known all this stuff, like, I don't know if you guys would have gotten cut. Because
which is wild to think about. Did you guys do your research at all?
Yeah. If you remember, like, there were discussions like in the years in between, and so in like the 22 to 24 time frame where the Air Force was like, we really need like joint-minded airmen that know how to do MDMP. And
I know some guys.
I was like, I know a guy. He just got fired.
Jeez, man.
Well, and then additional to that, we have been really like focusing on heritage. The Air Force as a whole is terrible at it. They try to reinvent something new every 5 years, like the Airman's Creed. My God, what a disaster that was. So dumb. But we're trying to bring heritage to us and like give us some things, because the Navy does such a good job with it. Like the Navy is so good at it. So like the next project that we're jumping on is designing a run of show for a TacP or a 1 Zulu retirement, where the actual order of business is retiring the beret, and the beret gets to live at the unit of your choosing, and the unit is responsible for displaying all of the retired berets. And part of that is we're gonna man a ledger, so you owe a page to the ledger, and a copy of that ledger sits where all the berets sit at the unit. So all of your young guys at any point can go in and open that binder and read about the people that retired their berets.
Okay, so so the history doesn't get lost, kind of thing.
Well, it's huge because you look in the Air Force as a whole, it is the Air Force. And a lot of the stuff that the Air Force has for heritage are all really centered around pilots.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was always this kind of weird thing. I don't know if you've had it too, where they're like, hey, are you doing Mustache March? And you're kind of like, that's cool. Like Robin Olds was amazing, but that's like a pilot thing, man. I don't know if I'm not one of them. Like, is he going to do an OFT? and so it's, loving being in the Air Force, but going, hey, we also need to embrace, like, there are like really unique and exceptional humans that go forward into dangerous places, and they have some heritage too. And it is incredibly different than traditionally what you think of when you think of, zipper suited sun god culture.
Sun god. Well, that's actually why it's nice to go into units that have kind of a heritage hall. And I'm not talking about a heritage room that it's really a bar. I'm talking about like a no kidding
real one. Yeah.
Yeah, a museum. Like what's awesome is when you go into the trench at the 66 whips and you go in there and you see all the things that, I don't want to say they're not war trophies or anything like that, but all the memorabilia that are there, all the units that have visited through the day. Same if you go into the trench or the trough at the 66, same kind of thing. You can see all the ASOSs, all the STSs that have come around through the years that have just donated something to say thanks to it. And it's pretty awesome to see. The going back to the riff though, are we done with that now?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the final positions left UMDs this year, and they peeled off. So we should be mission complete with that.
Okay.
So we did some UTC. It ended up not hitting us as terribly. It's kind of like if you're manned at X%, first the seats that nobody's in go away and stuff, and then we did a little bit of redesign. So it wasn't super terrible. And honestly, as coming in to be a career field manager at the back end of a force reduction is awesome, because you have an opportunity. I think unlike anybody else's opportunity, it's because there's nothing unique about me, but I have.
I know.
My timing is great because I come in at a time when, like, if you want to drive some evolution and do some force improvements, there's not a better time.
Yeah.
Like, hey man, some stuff happened and you can just, hey, like, we need to change some things. We need to evolve in places. And we just had some reduction. And so if you want to raise some standards, you're a little bit better resourced. It's easier to ask for things because you're a little bit smaller, lighter, leaner. You can be a lot more effective with grabbing space. And then as the force reductions happen, there are a lot of places where there's demand signal outside of the TacP career field or outside of the element code or the funded positions that we own, where we can help. And so there's places where like in training, they're like, we need more instructors. We can help with everybody else's production. There are staffing positions where we can get access and placement to really advocate across special warfare. There's places where like we have the scouts, we have scout recruiters all over the United States. We filled almost all those except for I think one dude. There was a controller that took one of the seats because he needed to for some kind of reason. But and it's one of those where recruiting was a big problem. We were having trouble. And really, it was, these are awesome jobs. It's just nobody'd heard of them. And we needed to get some floppy hat dudes around the United States. And so we filled that with the whole intent of taking care of everybody else in the AFSW war enterprise. So filling those and taking care of the boys.
So in highlighting one of your funny hat wearers that happens to be a TacP is Funky Bunkley.
Dude, he's a rock star.
Oh my God, dude. That guy, one is he can jits the shit out of anybody. I mean, the guy's always at tournaments, wrecking shop.
He's at 99 wins right now.
Yeah. It's insane. So he's a complete stud. He's knowledgeable. He's articulate. He's just a great dude. So, I mean, it's great to have him being an advocate Air Force recruiting service.
Yeah.
And not just an advocate for TacP, like all of Air Force Special Warfare.
He loves it. And it was one of those ones like, so we came up with the idea to send Bunkley to recruiting in a hot tub in Germany. We were sitting there and his supervisor asked me, hey, what can I do to take better care of this guy? He's fantastic, but I honestly think he has some talents that like, he's fantastic in an ops unit, but I think there might be something better we can do with him. And what, like knowing Bunkley, and he's one of the guys, even when he was young, I kind of decided I wanted to adopt him.
Yeah.
And every chief gets like 6. And so the scout program and some of that.
I had him as an airman.
Yeah, he's amazing.
We had to have a counseling.
Yeah.
Oh, you had to counsel Bunkley?
It was when you're going outside of the local area, don't put it on fucking Facebook.
Speaking of which is wild because that dude travels more than anybody I've ever seen.
Oh, man. Yeah. But yeah, so the scout program had sort of simmered down and they weren't really doing much with it at that point in time. I called the current CFM at the time, Lee Blakeney, and I was like, dude, we need to put this guy there. We pulled some levers and got him hooked up out in Sacramento, and then he just like, and so coming back as the actual career field manager and then going out and visiting and having them specifically call out how well Bunkley was doing and how fantastic of an ambassador he is for the whole kind of 1 Zulu 19 Zulu world was to me it's so reassuring because he's an awesome guy and we found somewhere like it was one of the times where you actually get to see talent management happen.
Right. And how it's supposed to be and how we always want it to be.
Yeah. Well, and he's the godfather of the scout program now. And so as we build and we bring in more people, and eventually it won't just be TacPs as other people get a little healthier and some stuff, but like he's kind of building the blueprint for how that works and what those people do.
Yeah.
And so we have scouts, we've got like a relationship between those guys and the developers so that they're a team. And if you listen to some of the stuff that's coming out of the training wing, recruiting is doing a lot better.
Yeah,
these initiatives are working. The issue is that with recruiting problems, they don't work fast. So like there was a big problem and we couldn't get dudes in the door. It's like steering a cruise ship. So they implemented some fixed actions. It takes about 8-9 months for that stuff to really take to where you start seeing more humans come in the door.
Yeah, well, I mean, because you're only allotted a certain amount of slots to come in. There's only a certain amount of ship dates and all that kind of stuff. So,
yeah.
But I think things like Controlled, the documentary and stuff like that, will help with recruiting without a doubt. So,
and it's free. You go on YouTube and just go to the Black Rifle YouTube channel, and it's a 2-hour movie that's just for free.
Yeah, and it's awesome. I definitely recommend going to check it out, and be prepared to hear some awesome, war stories. But at the same time, you start hearing and looking at the faces of some of those guys as they're telling these stories, and you're like, God, man, I know the exact feeling you're feeling right now.
Yeah,
and you're doing a great job telling the story right now with a stoic face.
Well, because
Yeah.
we've all been there and felt it.
Yeah.
You're there, and then I've got this Garmin.
Yeah.
Yeah, using that.
I'm using
Yeah.
that.
Well, JT, so I know we've talked about a couple things. What's next for you in terms of things that you're doing or projects you're working on or
I'm
whatever?
finishing Wet Death. So the edits are done. The final edits are done. I just need to maybe do one more format pass today or tomorrow and then send that manuscript off to the publisher. And I got to record the audiobook. So I just got it printed all on a large scale, like a binder that is on single pages so I can read it smoothly in the microphone. And once I get that audiobook done, I'll set the release date for it.
Nice. And is that reading? Are you going to do different voices or are you going to read it?
I just read it like a book.
You read it like a book? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was thinking of I'm kicking around some ideas that towards the end when we're all doing these missions that I'm gonna do it over the radio.
Oh,
I think that would
nice.
just be really fun.
Like with the static and
Yeah.
nice. A little bit of squelch action. I dig that. See, that would be cool. Those are the kind of things that when we start talking about audiobooks now, where
And laying the fighter noise and stuff over the top of that. Well, I think those accents would just be fun.
Yeah. I think it would definitely add something to it for sure. And then Jimbo, our demographic is primarily got people that want to come in, although we do have some folks that are in the career fields that listen. So what advice would you give to those folks coming in, especially with, you hear all these changes and stuff like that, and just what would you offer them?
So I would say don't get sucked in to the rumors of different changes and train towards the same thing that you've been training for the whole time. The reality of a lot of these changes is that as a career field, most of us, like if I look at Aspect War 2.0 and the fusion, some of these ideas, all of us just end up being valuable to that team by being the best version of our original career field that we already are. So the PT that you're doing and the dedication and preparing for teamwork, like there's a lot of stuff. I always like equate it to like a word problem. And so if you look, when you do a word problem in high school and there's all this other stuff that doesn't actually matter, and there's three things out of that problem that really matter. The three things that these guys need to focus on of like, hey, drive, teamwork, and physical fitness, and being, good at those things and dedicated in those areas is it. Everything else will shake itself out in the wash. But like, if you're wanting to come into this community and go down any of the paths and you're hearing all this other stuff, like the thing that you're wanting to do doesn't change. The things that you need to do to get ready to be part of this warfighting team don't really change. I think a lot of it, like there's some awesome decisions and there's some great potential and capabilities and things that are on the horizon. But the way that our young candidates and airmen get there, I don't think it's significantly different. I think that we're actually creating better ways to get them there, and we're creating better ways to make them significantly more capable. But if I'm a 17 through 22-year-old, somewhat athlete out in the normal space, and I'm training for one of these jobs, I look at what I'm doing in my prep. I look at, my interactions with the developers and the stuff I'm doing to get ready, making sure I'm thinking about others and I'm not just focused only on PT. And I do the same thing. Because the guys that were successful before are the same people, guys and gals, that are going to be successful now. And a lot of the changes, again, if you're coming in because you want to do, personnel recovery and a lot of that stuff, that mission isn't going anywhere.
No.
We are still going to go into very dangerous places to recover humans. If your job is you want to do access stuff and you want to do global access and go to austere, really dangerous positions, in order to be able to project air power, that's not going anywhere. It's still going to be there. If you want to get in and do precision strike stuff, that job isn't going anywhere. But I will say that all three of them are probably going to get better.
We can only get better. So awesome. Fellas, I do appreciate your time. And thanks for joining. And everybody out there, don't forget to head over to onesready.com, pick yourself up a piece of merch. If you're on YouTube, hit that like button, subscribe, and notification bell. We're out here. See you.